In today's video, I want to talk about 3 bad skincare habits everyone should break. Hey guys, it's Dr. Mona, and today's video is going to be pretty short and sweet. I like to kind of mix it up a little bit and add some short videos in here too, but this video is just about 3 bad skincare habits. And it's funny because when I was thinking about making this video, I was going to title it like 3 skincare habits you should break before you're 30, but I'm like, you should break them before you're 30, after you're 30, at any time, any point in life. These are super important for everyone to take into account and really break. So the first habit I want to talk about is picking your face. This is such a bad habit, and this can range from anyone, whether you're a teenager or well into adulthood. It's just something all of us have to stop doing. So I kind of want to get into what can cause this and what this is associated with, because honestly, it can go deeper than you think. Oftentimes, picking your face can be a sign of perfectionism. So a lot of people who pick their face, honestly, I'm sure you can relate to this. You look totally fine. You might have one little like mini breakout and then you're going crazy. You're like, I can't have this tiny little blemish on my face. So you take out the big mirror, the magnifying mirror, and you look at it and you start picking it. And then when you wake up in the morning, it's like 10 times the size and super red. And you know that if you would have just left it alone in the first place, it wouldn't have gotten irritated and inflamed. So perfectionism is something that we should all really work on not, having and trying to strive for. I actually know that I've suffered from it for a while, and even sometimes I still do. I'm such a perfectionist, and it's just, not a good habit to get into. It can also really be associated with anxiety. So sometimes people will pick their face and so mindlessly, like you don't even notice you're doing it. You could be watching TV, you could be studying. Studying was a huge one in college. I would do that where it was literally just something you wanted to do. It's interesting to look at things that you wouldn't think would have anything to do with something like much deeper, like a deeper rooted cause, but a lot of times it can. So if this sounds like something that relates to you, I would recommend looking into it and really trying to dig deep and think like, when I do this, why am I doing it? The reason it's so bad is because number one, your hands are usually not clean when you're touching your face. So that's kind of a rule of thumb, is to try not to touch your face too much. Number two, when you're squeezing it, unless you are at an esthetician's office or a dermatologist and they're truly extracting out a breakout like properly, you're most likely going to just be pushing the bacteria back into your skin. This is when you can get more breakouts. You're going to inflame the area. You could cause scarring. And especially when you have a little bit of a blemish and you cause a little bit of a scar, if you're in the sun and you don't wear sunscreen, it can just end up leaving a darker pigment on your skin for, months or sometimes permanently. One more thing I'd recommend is to try to focus on something else. So I know for me when I was studying in college, whether it was doing that or eating Doritos or munching on something or chewing gum, like I just needed to be doing something. So some of my favorite things are like drinking herbal tea. I love drinking herbal tea for almost any kind of fixation because it's so healthy and it's really hot, so you can kind of nurse it and it gives you something to do. Or frozen fruit has always been a favorite of mine. You can take grapes and put them in the freezer, and because they're frozen, it takes a long time to eat, so it's literally giving you something to do. So sometimes you just need that little bit of fixation. So that's the first bad habit. The second bad habit is tanning beds. So it's interesting that I even have to talk about this right now because I just assume that we all know it's bad, but there are still some people out there that go in tanning beds. I was actually just going to a place to get a spray tan the other day, and they have tanning beds in there, and I couldn't believe how busy it was with people in there, even people well into their 30s, which, for us in our 30s, I know when I was like 18, 19, 20, even up to 24, we didn't know how bad it was. I used to go into tanning beds because it would literally clear up my face when I had acne, which makes sense because the UV in tanning beds is kind of the same but worse. Now, if you go to an esthetician or a med spa and they do red light or blue light therapy, or you can get LED lights, that LED therapy can really help clear up acne. But even though that is still in the tanning bed, you're getting so much worse. Number one, when you're in a tanning bed, it's so close to your face. Like, I recommend avoiding the sun in general, always having sun protection, always making sure you're in shade, for long periods of time, but at least it's not so directly close to your face. In a tanning bed, it's just, you're right up close and personal. And the second thing is tanning beds are mostly UVA radiation, and you can get UVA or UVB, but UVA is going to give you a lot of those premature aging signs and symptoms like wrinkling, sagging skin, loss of firmness, discoloration. And then the other thing is the effects of a tanning bed are super delayed. So even if you're going tanning, you might not see the negative effects for years later, which can be dangerous because as you're going, you're like, I've got this great tan and, you know, my skin is clearing up a little bit, but you don't know the damage it's causing long term. So when I used to go in my young 20s, I didn't realize. And I genuinely think one of the reasons that I have melasma, I mean, even though it is genetic, but one of the reasons I think it's worse is because of all the time I spent in a tanning bed. So for anyone watching this who's younger, please learn from us. We had no idea. It's almost like when our parents would smoke and they didn't know it was so bad for you. I feel like the millennial generation didn't know tanning beds were bad for them. So we'll have to see what comes next. But highly recommend avoiding them. Going into these tanning beds and having that UV radiation causes a 75% increase in melanoma. So skin cancer, melanoma, this is not something to joke about or to take lightly. So really, whether it's because you want to look better or because you want to prevent skin cancer, whatever your motivation, I'd recommend avoiding it completely. A little alternative is an organic spray tan. There's so many great places now. You can get an airbrush tan. You can go into a place that just does a regular tan. There's some great organic, like clean self-spray tan lines you can use. I can link some below this video. So those are all better alternatives. And my last tip is a pretty simple one, but I don't think a lot of people think about this, and it's pillowcases. So anyone who's using the same pillowcase for days at a time, especially like a week, 2 weeks, I know that especially in college, you probably don't change your pillowcases that often. That's understandable. But if you are suffering from acne or breakouts, highly recommend changing your pillowcase. I'm kind of weird. I literally like to change my pillowcase at least every 2 nights. I try to even do it every night. It's just there's so much bacteria that gets on there. You've got to think about what you do during the day. You're sitting in a lecture hall and your head is leaning against a chair that is cushioned, that is literally never cleaned. You are in an Uber that hundreds of thousands, who knows how many people, like thousands of people are going in at some point in that car. That's probably never cleaned because it's a cushion. You are on a subway, maybe your head rests against the railing. There's so many different things and bacteria. And obviously this isn't meant to get you into like an OCD germaphobe type of state, but the problem is your face is pressed up against that pillow for 8 hours a night, for 8 hours, 6 hours to 8 hours. Other germs you come in contact with might be for a minute. You could wash your hands, but when your skin is pressed up against it, also even the oils from your hair, different hair products you use. So if you feel like you're breaking out a lot, highly recommend changing up your pillowcase. I also really like a silk or satin pillowcase to prevent wrinkles, to prevent like fine lines. It gives you a softer surface so you don't have to smush your face up against the pillow. One little hack I like to do if you are busy and can't obviously do laundry all the time or have a million pillowcases is to literally take a t-shirt, put it over the pillow. So what I do is if I don't have an extra one, I'll take a t-shirt, I'll take a towel if I'm in a hotel room, anything I have to do just to make sure my face isn't like, pressed up against bacteria all night. And I think this has been a huge contributor for me to prevent acne. So those are my 3 tips on skincare. Really easy habits to break. I feel like we've got some good alternatives to all of them. So let me know your thoughts if you have any questions on these, if you want me to elaborate. Also, try to mix in these short videos, so let me know if you like that. So if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.